We made it. Welcome to What Could Go Wrong Live. I even pushed the go live button prior to hitting the countdown. So progress is being made every day.
That's right.
So welcome to the show. Everybody meet Rachel, the lovely and beautiful goddess of beauty. I don't know. Now that's how I introduce you. Now it's your turn. Do better than that.
The smart, sassy, spicy, salty, and sweet Rachel.
Oh, all right. I mean, goddess of beauty. It's fine. So what do you do with your life? Why are you here?
Why am I here? Existential out of the gate. Okay. So, because the CEO of the company that I work for was like, hey, we should go on LinkedIn. And I was like, we totally should. And then I got here and I was like, let's sing. And that's
I like it.
That's how it happened.
I like this plan. I think this is a perfect plan, and I'm excited to be a part of it because when you said, hey, we should write a theme song or whatever you said, I was like, ha ha ha, that's funny. And then you did. And I was like, this is a life-changing, like I don't even have the full sentence. That's how I feel about it. So it's like, well, we should definitely participate in all of those things. So for the people who don't know what in the world is happening here, I'm Chelsea. It says it on my little tag right there. Yeah, that's hard. Okay.
I don't know if it's even happening that way. I don't know where we are. Maybe we're like this.
I'm not sure. That's fine. I'm Chelsea, the host. Am I a host of a show?
You're driving.
I'm fancy that way of What Could Go Wrong. And What Could Go Wrong is essentially growth mindset. It's like the slang version of growth mindset, right? So we all want to have growth mindset. Growth mindset's not really as fun to say as what could go wrong. I even was in a work meeting before this, and they brought up something, and one of my colleagues was like, what could go wrong? And I was like, yes, we are taking over the world. So that's what I do. My job is to move education forward and change education for the better. And Rachel, what do you actually do?
So, yeah, what do I actually do? So I work for Share, which is a freelance marketplace for churches, ministries, Christian organizations, businesses, etc. So I am the community success manager. So I'm like customer service plus culture creation plus morale officer plus all of the extra things that need getting done so that we are successful.
Plus singing.
Yeah, I mean, no one asked me to do that, but like, if you asked me to show up,
to ask, really.
Like, I mean, I knew that.
I don't feel like it needs to be an ask. It's just a part of who you are.
It actually is. If you sit in a room with me, I will start humming, whether or not I'm aware of it.
Perfect. Well, so then let's break into it. So we had originally kind of chatted about, she does a lot of stuff.
That's my mom. She knows things about me.
She does things.
I brought my mom with me to LinkedIn.
I like it. I think it's a perfect plan. So we were like, okay, well, we should definitely release the song on here, but then maybe we should also talk about something education or parent related, since that's kind of what the show is about. And we decided to go with soapboxes and songs is the title of this episode, and which is super because, you know, S's. And we're going to talk about some controversial parenting theories, things that you have happening in your world. So what would you say is the most controversial thing that you do in your parenting? Dun, dun, dun.
I do not post pictures of my child on social media, and I don't let anybody else do it more than like once or twice a year.
How do you not let them? Like, will you tackle them if
yes.
they have a phone?
Like, literally ask my mom. I'll be like, so I saw an unauthorized post of my child. Like, that only happened once. Throwing that up, but it totally happened.
She's even here.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
she can say in the comments, that's totally true. Rachel is mean.
dang it, Rachel. Rachel is mean. I feel like I don't know. Okay, so I mean, so what brought you to that place? Like what made you go, okay, this is a line that I'm gonna draw for my family and my kids?
So the thing about social media is that the online is forever. Like the internets
It is forever.
they are forever. And so
Forever.
the same way that parents tell stories about you that you wish they didn't, the way I see it, like when my son was born, I posted about myself and that's my choice, but my kid is going to grow up and my kid did grow up to be a person who's shy and doesn't necessarily like people knowing his whole life story. And so if I post that, I'm taking away his free agency to make those decisions about himself, because at a certain point he'll just realize that like everything he's ever done or said was online and he had no choice in it. And so I want to give him that choice.
I mean, that's valid. So I
know that no one agrees with me, but
we obviously don't practice that. I mean, with my kids. But okay. Did you watch the movie remake of Baywatch?
No.
Obviously, but it had The Rock in it, who is like my favorite
I've seen nothing. Like for all the cultural references I make, I actually live under a rock and have seen nothing.
Okay, fine. Well, there's a scene on there where The Rock tells the other actor, who I don't know, and he says, the internet is forever. And that is now something that I, say regularly. I can't do The Rock voice. I feel like that would be really bad. But that's now like the internet is forever, right? So if I post a picture of my child doing X, Y, Z, then it will last forever. And so I think this is really interesting because my youngest child takes a class called digital literacy. And they're talking about what it looks like to build a digital community, how to interact online, what that comes with, which I think is a big part of education as it is now. And then they're also talking about squirrel. Wow, I just like looked to the side and just whole new digital literacy, ADHD,
and internet is forever.
The internet is forever. Oh, building digital profiles. Building profiles, like learning profiles. Oh my God.
Okay. I also have the ADD squirrel. It's okay. Shiny, like it's fine. We're both still here.
Oh my gosh. I said
word that Alfonso threw out. I have to tell you. Okay.
Digital, whatever.
Digital profiles.
Digital profiles. So what it means to create a digital profile from all of your social media pieces and kind of put them together into one thing. So for example, my girls do experiential learning, interest-led learning. So instead of grades, they will have a profile of their learning experiences and all of that. And then they'll bring them to if they're going to college or if they're going somewhere else, they bring the profile with them. And so I think what we might experience with the kids that are now growing up is I only had to manage the profile that I created for myself, but these other kiddos, like my kids, will have to manage the profiles that other people have created for them and the profiles they've created for themselves.
Yeah.
But your kid won't.
Well,
so your kid's going to be better than all of our children.
So I'm like, this feeds directly into my next controversial parenting opinion. But on that, what I think is going to happen is in the next couple of years, Facebook is going to, or Twitter, all of them, I think they're literally going to create a button that's like, you create a profile, you're 16, and it's like, import my information from my parents' profile. And it's just going to go, psh, that's what I think is going to happen. And I will be shocked if something like that doesn't happen because they have it. I mean, it's going into your credit profile and like you'd be amazed how your stuff gets into how your profiles are already interacting with each other. Like your Facebook can almost influence your credit score. Like it's ridiculous.
I don't disagree. I am trying to figure out what this means, Alfonso.
I love it. Sharenting.
What does this mean? What does that mean?
I said earlier, too much sharenting. I teach parents to be careful.
I get it. Okay.
Yeah, so I love that. It's hard because I get that people want to share, and what it leads to is that every so often I'll get, a text from a friend and they're like, so I know that you're not dead, but I don't know if your kid is still alive because I never see him. And then I send a picture like, look, I did it.
There is. Okay, so tell me about your other controversial, I already forgot what it was, because midday live shows are apparently not the best for my brain.
I like shiny squirrels myself. So if we chase those the whole show, I'm fine with that.
All right. So controversial parenting numero dos.
So I just chased a shiny squirrel because I had it. I'm like, what were the things that I told you that I have opinions about? I should ask my mom. Hey, Mom and Sarah, tell me.
Right? What are the opinions that she has?
Yeah. I think that what that leads into is I think our children are really overstimulated. So like my kid didn't have toys with lights or sounds on them until gosh, I don't know, like probably 3. And then the one that he had was like a leapfrog and it said the letter and then he had to draw the letter and follow the lights. I don't really.
So what led you to that decision about overstimulation? Was that a child development thing or like what brought you to that?
Yeah, because I have a master's in counseling and I have a bachelor's in psychology. And I'm not saying that makes me an absolute expert because it absolutely doesn't. But my brief experience with neuropsychology and with bioscience, when your kids' brains are little, they are programmed to program themselves. That is what brains do. They are like, take every single input that they take, their brain is plugging it into the giant switchboard and creating things. So if we overstimulate our kids, and at this point, the Association of Pediatrics, I think it said you shouldn't give a kid a device before like 2. But
2.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the behaviors that we're seeing which like ADHD is real. I was literally diagnosed with it. And so was my sister. So it's not like I don't think it's real, but I think that a lot of the issues that we have are because kids are way too overstimulated. And then we put them in school and we're surprised that they can't sit still. And yeah, that was the second controversial parenting technique. I think it's parents' jobs to teach their children how to sit still in school and not. That's what it was. But the overstimulation thing directly plugs into that. Because if you've never given your child a book and told them, sit here and read, and then you expect them to be able to do that when they get into school, it's absolutely not going to happen.
Well, that's a behavior. We're talking learned behaviors and expectations. We talked about this a little bit last night on my show. We were talking last night. Did I say that?
Yeah, you did.
We talked about this a little bit last night on my show last night. And we chatted about the learned behavior. If we want our kiddos who are leaving high school to have ability to regulate themselves, social emotional regulation, then we need to build those skills into them. We just can't assume that they're going to have them. I think this is similar. If we want our child to be able to sit and listen to a book or a story, even if they have a neurodiversity, there is still behavioral expectations that need to be set with the child. It's not always just assumed. You can't just assume that they're going to have it, right? Am I saying what you're saying, or are we saying the same things?
I think that accustoming a child to overstimulation, the younger you start that, the more difficult you're basically teaching them something when they're little so that you can help get yourself, so that you can get things done. So you're like, I'm going to give them this toy. I'm going to give them this. It's really stimulating. When you accustom their brains to that, you have to like wean them back off of it when you put them in preschool and then kindergarten and then first grade. So you're teaching them one thing and then like 2 years later trying to reteach them. And I think that we should just be really careful to not teach it at all. Because the fact is that I'm like, I don't know about everybody else. My dad literally built computers. Like he was on the cutting edge. He was so on the cutting edge of technology that he has a laser disc player. So like we were literally so on the edge that we took that ride for 2 years before DVDs came out. And he was still really neurotic about how much stimulation and how much exposure we had to TV and stuff like that, because even the shows that we watched weren't like the super colorful, because you're accustoming their brains to that level of stimulation and interaction. Then that's a baseline that you create. So by 3 or 4, if it's not flashing and screaming and like changing, you know, angles every 5 seconds, they won't pay attention to it as much because that's what they're used to. And then you stick them in school and yeah, they're just, that's what their brains are ready for. And they're just not going to get that. They're going to get it maybe like for an hour or 2 a day with an iPad or something else, but they're not. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
So, I mean, okay, it says your mom says we actually made Rachel and her sister spend time on their beds with books or drawing. So what does it look like? What does play look like for your kids in your house?
So I only have the one. And
for your child.
For my child. But there were 3 of us. So, I mean, like when I was growing up, there were 3 of us. We were 2 years apart. My mom had, you know, like 3 girls under 5 for a year. That was amazing. So when we didn't watch Saturday morning cartoons because we were Jewish and not allowed to turn on the TV. Like when he was really, really little, I got him a bunch of board books. He had a huge bunch of board books, and we would just teach him to sit and look at them. So I realized that there are children who are not as prone to that, so it's more difficult. But I would give him time where he was near me, but he wasn't, like I was not interacting with him, and it was like, this is what you are expected to do now. This is a book. This is how you go through it. Oh, look, pictures. It's okay. No, you do it. And I would just leave him with it. I would give him paper. And granted, again, like my kid is not perfect, but like he held a pencil correctly at 18 months. Most children don't do that. So he would sit and he would just draw forever and ever and ever. But whatever tendency you see that your kid has, that they'll sit quietly and do XYZ thing without screens or TV going, I would say try to just day by day make that time last a little bit longer before you put on the TV or the Netflix or whatever, because even if it's Legos or whatever it is.
Or Star Trek?
Totally Star Trek. That only happened for like 2 glorious hours a week when we were growing up.
Because I mean, your mom is all about the Star Trek here, so that's important.
We are.
And then Corey says, I grew up in the 80s and we lived on cartoons and sugar cereal. What could go wrong? I mean, I remember all of that. That was my life. But so then question or theory. Oh, wait, hang on. Matt says, we don't have a TV in the house. I love your approach. Missing Star Trek would be abuse.
I may agree with Matt.
So that's something there. But so then let's take kind of what you're saying about, I loved what you said, and I think Matt will love this topic, is when you said, find what your child likes and then give them more opportunity to do that. That's interest-led learning, which, hey, Matt, guess what? Interest-led learning is a real thing. I don't know what you think, but it's finding what your child is interested in and then allowing them to experience it and kind of follow that and do. And so I would say there's 2 different sides of this. They're saying, hey, child, you have to read a book. I realize you don't like it. I realize you hate it. I realize it's really crappy for you, but you have to do it right here. That's not interest-led learning. That's telling them they need to do one thing. Or there's, hey, what do you like to do? Let's find a way for you to do that together. Or you like to color, or you like to dig in the dirt, or you like to whatever. That's interest-led learning, and giving them an opportunity to play in that type of space and kind of explore that. I mean, so Did your kiddo just so happen to love books, or was
Yes.
that a taught thing, or was that kind of where their interest was and you followed it?
Yeah, no, I mean, he definitely loves books. And in addition to him loving books, what I would also say is I tried as much as possible to see what he liked, and I would get him books about that. So he had like
Mm-hmm.
3 books that are huge Lego books, and he sits and like oh my gosh, my friend found him this book that is he has one that's Lego Star Wars that my friend got him at the library for like $2. And
Not Lego Star Trek. Do they have Lego Star
they
Trek?
don't even get me started. We're not talking
Oh,
about it.
all right, okay. Another show. Another show.
He has Lego Star Trek or Star Wars, and then he got him, the same friend got him another book from the library that is all of the machines and the vehicles in Star Wars completely taken apart with schematics as if they were real things.
I love schematics.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing. I saw that he liked that stuff because I would get him ones from the library that were cars, and that's what he likes. And he's saying he wants to be an engineer. So rather than me say, I'm going to, and like, he does like Legos, but not as much as I did. I loved Legos and I did not want to be an engineer. So I try not to be like, this is what you will do with your time, or this is what you will read. But if I want him to read, and books and reading are just a part of school. So I think that not exposing your kids to that and finding stuff that they like to read and giving them stuff, you don't want them to get to school and be like,
wait. Did you just say that books and reading are not just a part of school? That this is like an actual thing that we promote in our home as well? That education is more than just sitting in a classroom? Did you just say that? Matt, did you just hear that? I feel like you just made Matt Barnes' day because you just made mine. Education lives outside of school. But I also need to know, what is Corey saying with his words there? Because I don't know any of those words. I mean, I know Rachel.
Geordie LaForge versus Lieutenant. So Geordie LaForge is the engineer who runs the Enterprise, and like he's always fixing things, and he's actually blind and wears a visor. So like he's an engineer and he was blind, just throwing that out.
Oh my gosh.
And there's episodes where he can do stuff better than other people because of his visor, but that's a whole other. And then Lieutenant Worf is the security chief.
They're promoting diversity in Star Trek? Is that what you're saying? Oh my gosh.
And they invented Kindles. I'm just saying, if you walk around, they're carrying all of these little Kindle things all over the place. Like Star Trek invented Kindle.
They invented Kindles.
They did.
Well, I think on this note, where we have decided that Star Wars, y'all got me all distracted, where we have decided that education and learning happen outside of the walls of the classroom, we're going to take a intermission. Oh, look, Matt Barnes is dancing in his chair because he's super excited about it.
Get ready, Matt.
We are actually, that's perfect, because we are actually about to be dancing in our chairs to the theme song that your alter ego wrote. Now tell me how to say your alter ego, because I don't know how to say it.
Oh, Gittelfirma.
Obviously. There are black people in Star Trek.
Oh my gosh. You know, I have to say that like the thing that cracks me up about that is they decided that all Klingons were going to be black. So there were some black actors who played Klingons, and then there were some other like Irish actors who were painted black, which I thought was very interesting.
You know things that I don't know, and I'm just going to let you run with that. Hey, Kelsey's here. All right, so we are going to play this super amazing song that is about to blow all of your minds with joy. Let's see, I don't know. Let's find.
I'm having so much fun just watching us. We're you just
I mean,
that and it will just dancing. Like if you do it in beat to the song.
Yeah, we just move the things around with the beat of the song. All right, we're gonna go with this format. This seems fine, and we are going to play the amazingness that is this song. Okay, the What Could Go Wrong theme song. Here we go.
Oh, but we can't hear it.
We hear it.
Can't hear it.
I can play it, but you can't hear it. I have so many questions about this. Hang on. Okay, you tell jokes while I figure out my life.
There's something on mine that says audio input, and I don't know if on yours it lets you input audio from your computador.
You know who should be here is Nick, who is not here. And I don't even know where that button is. Oh, I see.
Settings.
Audio input.
But I don't know if it gives you the option of doing it with your.
This is fun. I thought you were telling jokes while
I'm telling jokes about parenting. Actually, I'm just singing because that's what I do when I don't know what to talk about.
So when I push the play button, you still can't hear it? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying. Anyway, so Matt, you write the jokes and I will tell the jokes.
Okay. Well, here, Matt says he has jokes. So Matt, if you write the jokes, then Rachel will iterate the jokes while I figure out the problem that we are having. I'm just going to turn that off.
That's cool.
And figure this out.
So.
Okay.
I can hear myself a little bit now for a second. Okay, no, it's gone. For a minute, I could hear me. That was exciting.
Sarah does tricks with her fellow candlesticks.
Wait, what?
Okay.
I tell jokes with my fellow candlesticks. Yeah.
Okay, focus.
Sorry, I'm here.
Let's see if it works. Hang on.
What could go wrong?
Oh no!
No, it went away now. I think if you talk, then it goes away. Oh my gosh. And Matt's just like, I have the jokes.
Okay. The third one ducked. Matt says 2 guys walked into a bar and the third one ducked. I really was hoping for better from you. Let's try this again.
What could go wrong?
Can we hear it now?
What could go wrong? What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
It's my favorite part.
JB teaching for the money and fame, because everybody knows that's the name of the game. Challenging schools to elevation, pushing the limits of education. Who's that girl at the trampoline park? Filled with passion and thrown up sparks. Got growth mindset like fire, lifting learners up higher, disrupting the flow of the status quo, making people think about what they know. We can't innovate, raise the bar. Talking with JJ, that's what we breathe thought. Function, move forward. Chelsea's question, now for you.
Oh my gosh, I don't think I got the gluten-free flour part last time. How did
you specifically requested that?
And I forgot that I requested it. Amazing. Oh my gosh.
See? I'm glad that you like it.
I love it so much. I am so
I feel so funky.
I feel so funky. Oh my gosh. Wasn't that lovely, y'all? I mean, my expectations were just like out of the water. Very exciting. Of course, I really feel like anybody who wrote a theme song about me would have been the best theme song that I'd ever heard. Ellen says my favorite part is uh-oh.
Yeah, that's it. I have to tell you, like, I kind of laughed really, really hard because I legit had a moment because I've written entire plays that were parody songs. And then I talked about the Spice Girls, which my mother will be like, why couldn't Rachel sing the Spice Girls? I wish that was a problem when she was 12. Like,
that's true. Yeah.
I couldn't write it. And then as soon as, I think you actually said it as a joke in a comment thread. You were like, oh, you should write my theme song. And I was like, oh my gosh, but if I did, it would sound like this. And then it just started playing.
That does sound like something I would say about writing a theme song. Okay, so now that we've had that joyous experience, there's a juggler in Rachel Baird.
My mom's twin brother is a juggler.
Of course he is.
Yeah, no, like he keeps trying to teach us and I haven't practiced in a very long time. But we have these juggling balls that look like matzo balls. And I was trying to learn how to juggle with them, but I couldn't do it very well.
Matt, we are not drinking. We are just this fun on a normal, this is our normal experience.
I was that person in middle school who was like, I'm high on life, guys. And I was. So
we would not have been friends. Just throwing that out there. I really do feel like what would have been, now we need like Corey to come in and throw some like beatboxing in there with it. And then we get, is it James who plays the ukulele? And like, who was that?
Olivia plays the ukulele. James plays the banjo.
The banjo, that's what it was. And it would just be all kinds of really fantastic. We could do like a LinkedIn orchestra. And I will just dance at the front because that's all I do. I mean, it's fine. Okay, so that was the most beautiful experience. And Matt says this is the most enjoyable time I've had in my office all week. Seriously. Yes.
That's good.
We are changing education for the better, obviously. That's what we're doing right now. Mm-hmm. So back to learning happens outside of classrooms, because first you're talking about child development and stimulation. Then you're talking about interest-led learning. And now you're talking about learning happening in all types of locations where it's not classrooms. Like, are we the same human? Or like, what else do you know in your brain that you need to share with us? Because this is amazing and lovely.
So I can climb back on my soapbox. I think that people don't realize that learning happens whether you want it to or not. So like learning is always happening, and whatever happens in your home, because that's where your kids are 24/7 till you stick them in school, that is what they will be when they get there. And so school may be able to 50% of the time that your child is alive influence what they come in with. But when you drop them in preschool, they have been learning for, 2 or 3 years, regardless of.
So who's the child's first educator? What are you saying?
I think it's the parents.
It's the parent. Oh, who's going to tell the parents?
Are you listening? Yeah. See, we're coming at this from different angles because I was not a teacher per se. What am I saying? I always ended up working with kids. Like, I actually didn't want to work with kids, like ever, but I always ended up working with kids.
I feel like it's because we're on the same level. I work with children because we tell the same jokes. Like when I say, what do you call an alligator wearing a vest? And then the kids are like, I don't know. And I'm like, an investigator. And then they laugh. I know that we were meant to be together. When I say that joke in like meetings with adults, they're like, Chelsea, please focus. And I'm like, we weren't meant to be together. So I feel like it's very similar. That's how you ended up working with children and whatever you do. And that's how I work with children because they get me.
I ended up working with kids actually because my mom worked with kids. My mom was the music teacher at our Hebrew school. And then when she wasn't doing that, she decided that she was going to open up this like summer camp with her friend that taught kids how to do improv. So we would show up at
excellent
camps and we would teach kids how to do improv drama. I did that with her. And then I ended up being a camp counselor for 3-year-olds. And I was supposed to be I was not supposed to be the main counselor because I was like 16. I was supposed to be the assistant. But the person who was supposed to be the main counselor had issues with like telling children no, which I had no problem with. And then she would just leave me in the classroom and I would be there with like 15 3-year-olds all the time, telling them no.
Well, yeah, that sounds right. Matt says, I'll tell the parents that they are in charge and I wrestle them until they submit.
Well, and now that I have, like, after I got my master's in counseling, then I was working in the schools with the kids that the parents told the teachers to take to counseling because they're like, I don't know what the problem is, but I'm not able to deal with your child. You need help. I need help. You will now go see her. So that was a whole other level of like, engage the parent and teach them things that I wish that they taught when you had, I feel like when you do breathing techniques to learn how to give birth to a baby, I wish that there was a pamphlet they gave you that was like, as soon as this baby comes out, just FYI, they are learning all the time. Be ready for this conversation in 3 years.
I do feel like that should be a real thing. And when I was directing, we started accepting kiddos at 18 months. And that's when we started engaging with families. And then I was able to talk with moms and they would ask questions. We would work on that. But that's 18 months later. I mean, you had a whole 18 months worth of time. And I think it is crazy that no one says, here's some ideas, or here's how a child's brain develops in a very typical way, or here's some thoughts for you about how to raise this tiny human. Just maybe like a pamphlet. It would only need to be, 357 pages or so.
But for real, the thing is, what this soapbox upon soapbox, there's like a pyramid of soapbox.
A pyramid of soapbox.
So there are. But what this creates is it contributes to the difference between when a child is born into a household with an educated parent, especially one who's educated in child education or development or the medical field or anything like that. It just creates one more level that kid has to overcome, because maybe the 16-year-old mom who had a baby, when she didn't mean to, would actually be fine with learning a little bit about her kid, but nobody even thought to tell her. Or the mom who has a kid and, is working like 3 jobs just to keep the kids alive and doesn't have, if you gave them a little bit of that information at the outset, instead of allowing the natural flow of things, which is that those who know are going to act on what they know and those who don't know are just going to suffer for it. I wish there was a little bit more education at the outset, because the fact is that our agency only worked with children below the poverty line in California. And I mean, most of who I worked with were low-income parents or immigrant parents who didn't speak English, or, teen moms or people like kids in the foster system. And so no one was going to help those children when they were first born, because parents didn't know to. So
it was everything's set up to be reactive instead of proactive.
Yes. One more, let's just keep climbing up.
We're just never going to make it back down from these soapboxes. Okay. So if you could create a proactive solution to this, tell me a little bit about what that would look like. How would you kind of educate these parents? If you could create a pamphlet and give them a bit of information, what would that include?
I think that it literally would include an infographic of how children's lives look. Like, there's a pamphlet that they give us at school. OMG. There's a pamphlet that they gave us at the beginning of my son's kindergarten that was to teach me, the parent, the benefit of my child reading. And it was extremely simple. And it just said, we want your kid to read 20 minutes a day because this is what will happen. And it had numbers. Like, if your kid reads 20 minutes a day, by the time they're 10, they will have read this much time. And the outcomes for that are this. It was extremely simple, like one instruction. And so if the one instruction on the pamphlet that you got, in the parenting class that you take for learning how to breathe when you give a baby, or when you give a baby.
I wish you could just give
it's in the hospital and there's a pamphlet that's like things to know about your baby from day one. Your baby is always learning. This is your baby's brain. This is your baby's brain on screen. There are some very simple things that I think parents should know, that parents hear later and they're like, oh, well, that makes sense, but no one said that to me.
I agree. I mean, I think it could be this very high level, concept, or at least give them some points to begin their own research.
Yes.
Right. And I think what you said about teaching your children to read is really interesting. And hey, everybody, Matt Barnes, a round of applause. Woo woo. He was the one making all the jokes. So I was like, well, just come on in here because you're making jokes. So you might as well hang out. And ironically enough, was it you, Matt, who was the one posting about not teaching your children to read? Was that you?
It was. It's called clickbait. But it was all about self-control. It was all about teaching them the habits and the behaviors that allow them to manage themselves. So I was arguing that is more important than teaching them to read. If you do the former, reading becomes easier. If you
Which
do the
was
latter,
kind of what we talked about at the beginning with her giving her son a book to sit down and, are you saying all of these things are interdependent upon each other?
No, they're not. No, you just need to do one thing. There's just a silver bullet and your child will be fine.
So we can focus solely on academics and drop all social, emotional, behavioral structure and we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think math is all you need to do.
Bullet.
Math.
Happen. Like we have, it's like it comes in a jar and you unscrew the top and then you take a silver bullet every day and then.
That's right. And put it in your own head. That's right. I just want to tell you guys, this has been a great conversation. It's been entertaining. It's been super fun. I want to know what you're drinking. I've got my drink here now.
I have water.
Yeah, water. Yes.
Like, what's in the water?
Yeah, it's called Hill People Water. That's I understand what that is. So yes. Anyway, I just wanted to thank you guys, and I can't stay because I've got some other stuff going on. But I really have appreciated the conversation and definitely will join in the future.
Well, you can't get away now because now we know that you know how to do it and you're going to be wrangled right into this pretty soon.
Oh, gotcha.
So prepare yourself.
Well, you had me at Star Trek, but you lost me when I learned that the Klingons were all the black people were. I mean,
that cracked me up.
What do I do? I mean,
I love that they brought them in and then they're like blackface for the rest of the show forever.
Right.
I never said like.
Yeah, that was. I'm gonna have to figure out what to do now about that. It's very confusing.
Do you speak Klingon? Because
I don't. I don't, but I speak jive. That's probably before your time. You probably don't recall.
I mean, I feel like I've heard it in a movie.
It was in a movie. Yeah, Airplane.
Well, thank you for coming to hang out with us.
Yes, thanks you guys. Very entertaining, very educational. Keep up the great work, you guys.
See you, Matt.
Take care.
Well, that was lovely to just randomly have people come and hang out with us. I think overall, this has been a joyous experience. We have ventured slightly onto a myriad of soapboxes that each one could allow for multiple more hours of conversation.
They don't call me racial judgment face for nothing.
Oh no.
The Rachel face of judgment. That's what we're gonna start. We're gonna have like this series that's like Elsie and the Rachel face of judgment.
Oh my gosh.
And I'll just make it
what could go wrong. # judgment face. Like there's so many things that could happen inside of this beautiful world that we've created that I just don't even know the possibilities. And I think on that note, it's time to wrap it all up because we could just continue into this nonsense for quite some time. And who knows what could come of that.
We're going to put a bow on the soapbox. So that
we're going to put a bow on the songs and soapbox. Judge McJudgerson.
They call me that too. The wise woman of
mom called you that.
Many names.
I mean, so if you could wrap your soapboxes into a bow, okay, leave us with a statement that will forever change our lives. Ready, set, go.
Do not underestimate the power of parenting.
Oh, it even has a nice little ring to it. The power.
No, I have a could. I could say it again with my. I feel like I went Emperor Palpatine on that. Do not underestimate the power of parenting. I'm done now.
I don't even watch Star Trek. That was a beautiful experience. Wait, what
is Star Wars?
I'm assuming it was Star Trek. Star Wars? Which stars was it?
It was Star Wars. Emperor Palpatine is Star Wars.
I am a terrible.
It's okay. It's okay. It's really okay.
It's whatever. Okay. Well, this has been a lovely time, and I usually say like what's happening next on What Could Go Wrong Live, but I've lost all concept of time and space. So I have no idea what happens in my next episode. But there's a song now, and we're going to be using it as an intro and an outro on these episodes. So I'm really excited for that. Charlie Powers is helping me with that. So it's going to be amazing. So thank you so much for hanging out with us, you people that have lasted through this entire shenanigan. Okay, we're going to release the YouTube clip so you can listen to What Could Go Wrong on your run while you're working out, during the dishes, you know, whatever feeds you. You can have it in your life. You too can have this in your life.
Oh my God, I feel like now I need to make it into an infomercial. You too.
Yes, we could all be singing it together. It's going to be great. The possibilities are endless. So thank you all for hanging out with us. I will see you next week on What Could Go Wrong Live, and hopefully there is more singing, as there should be.